You have to contact a neurologist, schedule an appointment, get a referral, all the things. You already know. So I called the neurologist, scheduled her appointment, and I started taking her. And then I'm explaining to the neurologist everything that's going on, Eliana's sleep pattern. The neurologist recommended a sleep study to be done. Welcome to Uniquely Wired, the video podcast that uncovers the beauty and uniqueness of autism. Hi, I'm Nani, your host and passionate advocate for autism. On this video podcast, you can expect to hear stories about both of my kids and their autism journey, tips, encouragement, interviews of other autism moms, therapies, and so much more. Join me as we explore the world of autism through heartfelt conversations and informative discussions. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Uniquely Wired podcast. I'm your host, Nani, and I am finally back, y'all, after not uploading for 2 weeks. Life has been crazy these past few weeks, if I'm honest, with so many things, but God is good, okay? And we're not just surviving in these streets. We are thriving, okay? We're thriving and we're getting through it day by day. So today's episode is a very much requested episode, and that is the topic on, drumroll please, sleep and autism, or autism and sleep. However you want to word it, but the point is we're going to talk about sleep. I'm going to start off with sharing about Eliana's journey and her sleep situation from the beginning. And then towards the end, I'll talk about Jacob and his sleep situation because it is a very different situation with Jacob than the situation I had with Eliana. So let's get right into this episode. So I want to start off with saying that Eliana started struggling with her sleep the year before we got her autism diagnosis. So she was diagnosed at 2 in 2018, but by 1 year old, she was already starting to struggle with her sleep. And I'm about to get right away, what was her pattern with sleep and just the steps that I took from there on. Eliana, first of all, she did great when she was born. She was a pretty good baby. Like, she would go to sleep, she would eat, what typical newborns do, right? But again, she hit that 1 year old mark and her sleep pattern was just off the hook. And no, I didn't take action right away. If you're wondering, I did not. I was just kind of thinking, okay, maybe this is just what toddlers do. Maybe this is what 1 year old do. Like, I didn't know nothing, right? Because I'm a first-time mom, so remember that. She was my first child, so I didn't know much. Like, I'm just thinking, okay, this must be normal. So she would go to bed. Granted, I would feed her. I would give her something to drink. I would give her her bath. I would brush her teeth. Like, just a nighttime routine I had with her. It was like that every single night. So either 9 o'clock at night or the latest 9:30, she would be in bed and she won't give me a hard time. But again, she always wanted to sleep with her tablet, watching videos, and that's just the way she put herself to sleep. We did that. 12:30 a.m. hits, 1 a.m. hits, and this girl is up. And I'm talking about with so much energy. Like, she's up, screaming and excited and laughing, and she will get up and just run around the house. It was just crazy chaos, right? And she's not just getting up for 5 minutes when she gets up at 12:30 a.m. or 1 a.m. This girl was getting up and she won't go back to sleep till 7 in the morning, okay? That following morning. So our nights were terrible, y'all. Like, terrible. And this went on every single night. It just kept on increasing and increasing. There were nights that literally 9 o'clock she'll be knocked out, and by 11 o'clock at nighttime, she was already up. Mind you, I'm so exhausted, and my husband as well, from like having a long day, that we are just finally going to sleep, or I should say, even taking a shower at that time to get to bed when our daughter is wanting to get back up from her sleep. So we were so exhausted. I remember those days like if it was yesterday, because I would not want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to do anything, but I would force myself to take care of myself and push myself out of the house because I needed to. Otherwise, I was going to go crazy, literally. But I was so grateful, and still am grateful for my mom, my mother-in-law. They are amazing. When it comes to us telling them, is it okay if y'all can stay with the kids while we get some rest? Mind you, I didn't ask for any help towards the beginning of this struggle, because again, I'm thinking, well, this is normal. She should be okay. Or maybe she's going through a growth spurt, right? The famous thing that people tell you, oh, she's just going through a growth spurt, or he's just going through a growth spurt. They'll grow out of this. They'll be okay. It's just a season. No, y'all. Our sleep situation was not just a season. No, we went through it every single night. And it went through, we went through that whole situation with sleep struggle all the way until she was about 4.5, or even up to 5 years old. Yeah, I would say up to 5 years old. Okay. Mind you, she's 6.5 right now. So just until last year, we were struggling with sleep with her. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share with you what were the steps that I took. Now, I do want to say, don't feel like this is something you have to do as well, or, whatever the case may be. I want you to understand that whatever I share on this podcast is things that have helped us as a family. Now, you want to take these steps as well, go ahead. Doesn't mean it's going to work out. I don't know. Right? I can't say yes or no, because at the end of the day, your situation with your child may be way different than mine, right? So the steps that I took, and again, I'm going to backtrack a bit. Yes, she will wake up, right, around those times being loud and obnoxious. But there were also nights that she was up having a whole meltdown that would last up to 2 to 3 hours, a meltdown. And what's a meltdown? Like literally something that you just can't control. She couldn't control her emotions. She couldn't control what was going on around her. Like she was just crying, so emotional. Y'all, she would go from 0 to 100. That was Eliana. Like her mood was never like in between. She was either super excited and happy or super sad and crying. That was her. And it was so hard. And again, when I started taking these steps I'm going to share with you, I didn't start that until, I want to say, a month into the struggle with sleep, with the whole pattern situation with her sleep. I didn't contact the doctor until a month later. And that's because, again, I'm thinking this is normal. This was my mind, because think about it. She wasn't diagnosed at that time yet. She was only 1. Did we know already signs were showing of autism around that time? Absolutely. But we had no idea sleep could be related to it. And of course, it's a neurological thing. So anyways, fast forward, I contacted her pediatrician and I said, my daughter is struggling with sleep. I'm exhausted. I'm not in a good mood. I feel like I'm hitting depression. Like I'm literally, you guys, I was just so tired. I just wanted sleep. At least 5 hours, God. That was me. At least 5 hours. But no, I was not getting that sleep. Or my husband, poor thing, because he had to get up so early. Literally by 6:30, my husband had to be out the door. So 9 times out of 10, I was getting up with her because I didn't want to bother my husband to get up when I knew within a few hours this man had to get up and go to work. But, he was kind enough almost every night. He was like, you know what, go to the room. I'll stay with her. Because he started to notice that I was just so tired. Y'all, I would literally fall asleep with her on the couch, on the floor. Like, we just had places that we were falling asleep because our eyes were just already like giving up on us. So anyways, I called the doctor and she's like, okay, this sounds like, you have to contact a neurologist, schedule an appointment, get a referral, all the things. You already know So I called the neurologist, scheduled her appointment, and I started taking her. And then I'm explaining to the neurologist everything that's going on, Eliana's sleep pattern. The neurologist recommended a sleep study to be done. So just so you guys know that we scheduled that appointment a while later after she even got a diagnosis. So she didn't get her sleep study done until 2020. So she started struggling when she was 1.5. So it was 2017. Then 2018, she got her diagnosis. We were still dealing with the sleep struggle then, right? So it was just an entire process that we had to go through because I guess they didn't want the sleep study to be the first thing. So we wanted to make sure we just keep on monitoring her sleep, putting her on a schedule. So anyways, I'm going to put a picture right here of how my poor baby looked the night of her sleep study, which was January 2020. So months before the pandemic and the world shut down. So yeah, and then she had to do virtual learning, so that was very fun. But that's pretty much the entire thing we had to go through. Okay, so what's plan B? Like, what do we do now? And that's when the doctor prescribed the medicine. And I know some of y'all are probably freaking out, but this medicine was actually really life-saving. It was life-saving. I believe we started her on the sleep medicine when she was getting ready to start preschool. So she was already 2.5. She started preschool that fall. And she did tell me, now that she's going to start preschool, she's most likely going to be able to sleep a little more because she's getting worked up at school, that by the time she gets home, she's probably going to be tired. Just try to not get her to take naps. That's what the neurologist told me. And I took her word, actually. And I was just like, okay, then I guess I'm not going to let her take naps. And it broke my heart because she would literally get home from school, from preschool, and she was only there for like 4 hours. And she was tired. I started giving her that medicine at nighttime before sleep. And the doctor was like, you should not see any change in her behavior or any of that sort. The only thing that the medicine might do is awaken her appetite. So she might be eating a lot more often. And she was definitely right about that. And Eliana just wanted, at that time, her obsession was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So that's all she wanted every single time. And we knew that this was the medicine causing this hunger to appear. But again, when she started school, routine did change a bit. But y'all, there were nights that she was still getting up even while at school, right? Because the medicine was new. So it was still, getting into her system and adjusting and all that stuff, that it didn't work like instantly. But we did see a change. We did see that she was starting to rest a little more, but she was still getting up. So she started preschool. There was times that, she will be up from 1 a.m. And then when it was time for me to take her to school, she wanted to go back to sleep. And I'm like, no, sis, we going to school. You're not going back to sleep. And I know this might sound harsh and hard for some of you moms that are listening and dads, but honestly, I needed my time. I needed my time. I needed to prioritize my mental health, and I could not keep her home because I knew I was going to be mad. I was going to be exhausted. I just couldn't do it. I needed to at least nap while she was in school. Did I do that? No, I did not. Just being honest. Anyways, I was still sending her to school. And I told the teacher, you know what? If she has a hard time, do give me a call and I'll just come pick her up, right? But honestly, she got through her days at school. No bother at all. Now, by the time she was out, I would just let her nap in the car. And by the time she got home, she had to stay up and I'll take her outside, just continue to keep her busy. And, by the time she was 4 and she was in her second year of preschool, things began to get a little better. She wasn't waking up as often and as consistently, because when I say this was an every night thing, I mean that it was an every night thing. But like I said, second year of preschool started. And Eliana started, getting better with her sleep. little by little because the medicine started now adjusting to her body and just kicking in, and it was doing what it was supposed to do. So I was honestly able to get more sleep eventually, but there was still those nights that she was still getting up. Medicine or no medicine, she was still getting up. So, fast forward, she gets to elementary school. She starts kindergarten. Now she's in school much more hours than she was in preschool. So it's a longer day. It's more work, more academic work as well. So along with therapy. So she's definitely much more exhausted. She eventually decided to no longer take naps. Around 4.5 years old, she was no longer taking naps. So she was good. And yeah, so her sleep just kept on getting better. And now, right now that she's 6.5, she sleeps through the night. But guess what? She still needs her tablet. Now we took YouTube off her tablet, so all she has is games on there and Netflix, of course. She watches certain shows, but that's her thing, and that's her comfort at this point. That's not keeping her up at night. None of that, because people will tell me, the lights and this and that. While that can be true, that wasn't our situation. That wasn't what was keeping her up, because even till this day, that's what she sleeps with. And honestly, I used to feel really guilty, but I don't anymore. I've learned in this journey as an autism mom that I got to do what works for my family and what works for my kids. And if that's how my children want to fall asleep with their electronic device, and that's what's going to help them fall asleep, then I'm going to let them be. That's it. I'm done with feeling guilty. And if that's what you do, mom, guess what? Keep doing what you're doing, because if that's helping your child, that's helping you get some sleep, do what you got to do. I get it 100%. So no guilt over here, no judgment over here. We do what's best for us and what's going to work for us. That's it. Same thing with medicine. A lot of people freak out about medicines. Guess what? If they're there and God has provided those resources for us, especially families, we got to go for it. We got to take advantage. We have to take advantage of these helps. Okay? Do not feel like, oh my gosh, but what if this person says this, or what if they look at me this way? It doesn't matter. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for your child. So do what you have to do. And that will be my greatest advice to you, honestly. And I know that we may agree to disagree. We may not be on the same page on this, and that's okay. I still love you. But at the end of the day, we need to stop being so judgmental. We need to stop, looking at other autism parents for doing something a certain way, or they're changing their child's diet, or they get vaccines or they don't get vaccine. And oh my God, we have this war with each other that it's crazy, and it just divides us, and it's not okay. Everybody's going to do what's best for their family. And that's what I've learned. Was this my mentality in the beginning? No, absolutely not. I was always worried about who was going to say what. But I've learned to embrace this journey and embrace my children. And at that, as she got older, I was able to see what worked for her. Same thing for my son. Now, let's get right into Jacob, okay? With Jacob is a whole different scenario. Now, does he wake up in the middle of the night and he's crying and, screaming and jumping? And no, he doesn't. Jacob sleeps like a champ, right? He sleeps like a champ. He still takes naps, and he's going to be 4 in 2 weeks. So he still takes his naps. But Jacob's situation is, oh, by the way, let me just go back real quick for Ellie, because I wish I had all the photos on my phone, on which I know my husband has them saved, but on how many times we had to change Eliana's room, because certain way that we had the room would not work, and we noticed she'll wake up even more when we switch the room a certain way. So if you've been following me anyways on social media, then you know that I've shared the way we've had to change Eliana's room around. I mean, you just got to make it work, okay? So figure out what works for your child, and you may have to invest a couple dollars, but we just got to do what we got to do for our kids. I just wanted to throw that out there, because we went through a lot of room changing and turning around and decoration and taking this out, taking that out, adding this, adding that. We went through it, so we get it. But for Jacob, his situation, he actually sleeps with like white noise, which by the way, Eliana does too. But he sleeps with his white noise just for that sensory help. And still sleeps on his stomach, by the way, and he's going to be 4, still sleeps on his stomach. He needs to rock himself to sleep. So Jacob's situation, again, very different compared to Eliana's. He doesn't wake up, like I said, going all crazy and stuff or having meltdowns. He has more like tantrums here and there than meltdowns. We haven't experienced that with him. But he gets up in the middle of the night, every night faithfully. Well, first of all, he goes to bed, right? Right now, they both have a routine. They go to bed at the same time. I put them in their rooms at the same time, right? After being, taking a bath and brushing their teeth and things like that. Our nighttime routine is faithfully by 8:30. These kids we're getting everything done for them and they're being in their rooms no later than 9 o'clock. Like, I'm strict on that now. Like, that's it. It don't matter what's going on. We need to be in their rooms. Well, they need to be in their rooms by 9 p.m. And again, he rocks himself to sleep while Eliana just lays on her bed with her tablet and she's good. She'll fall herself to sleep, right? Jacob, he has to rock himself to sleep and needs to have that visual stimulation too, like Eliana, which is watching videos. Eventually, he falls asleep. So, of course, every single night, faithfully till this day, I have to go to his room and get him out of his swinging chair, transition him to his bed. He stays there for a couple hours. And by the time midnight hits, I want to say 3, 4 a.m., he gets up. I literally hear him because his room is attached to ours. So our wall is like together. So I hear him getting up and he goes right back to the chair. And you could just hear the chair swinging. And that's what he does. And that is Jacob's situation right now. So with him, I'm actually in the process. I just had his 3 therapists, speech, OT, and physical therapist, write a letter of medical necessity for Jacob to be able to qualify through insurance for what's called a cubby bed. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but if you haven't done so, like if you haven't heard of this bed, search it up on Google. It's called cubby bed. It's very popular right now and it has all the sensory stuff inside the bed. It does have a zipper. It almost looks like a canopy. It's super cute and I just feel like it will be very safe for Jacob. He, at some point, ended up coming out of his room. We had never locked it from the outside. The lock is actually outside of his door. And he's a big time eloper. So he had opened the door. And when I got up from my room, I noticed he was already downstairs. He was on the couch, rocking his life away, back and forth. And that scared me because I'm like, the next thing you know is he's coming out of his room and he's going to open the front door and possibly go out. And we are not trying to have that scenario happen. So I'm grateful that we can lock it from the outside. So now he's inside. Now there was a situation, which is why this is another concern as of why we trying to get the cubby bed through insurance. And that is because he at some point fell out of his bed. So he kind of like rolled over and fell. And this kid did not feel anything. But I heard it and it hurt me because I know he hit himself on the wall and it just freaked me out. So every single night I'm sleeping, but I have this anxiety within me that I'm afraid my son is going to fall back out, whether it's from the bed or from the swing chair, because sometimes he has fell off, actually a lot of times, out of the swing chair. And thankfully his bedroom, his floor has carpet. So yeah, it's like a safety concern for me when it comes to Jacob. But thankfully, they are both good. Eliana is doing really good now with sleep. Now it's just a matter, our struggle is, having to stay away somewhere for a getaway, even if it's just a weekend or staying over someone's house. Like, that's very rough for us. It's very rough because we don't know how our kids are going to react when that time of sleep time comes, because they are so used to their bedtime routine and their bedroom and their bed that they don't know anything else, So when we do a getaway, we just have to prepare like crazy, okay, before leaving the house. We got to bring everything that comforts them. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much our life with sleep. And again, I haven't taken Jacob to get a sleep study or any of that sort because he does pretty good. He does pretty good as of right now, and I'm really praying it stays that way. His thing is just more a sensory seeking thing versus, and of course, safety versus with Eliana. She was really, really like staying up long hours. So I get it. And this topic, I can go on and on and on and on. But again, if you have any questions, please comment down below or send me a message on my Instagram page. And if there's anything that I can help you with, I'm here. Okay, you are not alone. You got this. Keep pushing. And I would say prioritize your mental health. Make time for you. Okay, mom and dad that's listening to this podcast. Make time for you. And remember that if your cup is not filled, how can you fill your children's cup? How can you be there for them if you're not filling up your cup? Take a deep breath. And I want you to do that right now. Take a deep breath and exhale. Okay? Take a deep breath a couple times throughout your day and exhale. You got this. Do not give up and pray. Play some worship music or listen to a sermon on YouTube, or find podcasts that can feed into your life and feed positivity and not negativity and all these things that the world is just consuming us with. Take care of yourself, and I hope that you were able to connect with me through this podcast episode. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys again on the next episode here at Uniquely Wired.